Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mulberry Talent Partners Career Conversation. I'm just going to give everybody a few moments to log on. Okay, it looks like we are successfully logging on. So again, welcome to Mulberry Talent Partners Career Conversation. My name is Kelley, and I am the Talent Acquisition Specialist here at Mulberry. So a little bit about Mulberry. We are a full-service staffing and recruiting agency headquartered in Portland, Oregon, with an office in the Silicon Valley. We specialize in the placements of human resources, professional and financial office, accounting, and payroll with direct hire, temp to hire, and temporary opportunities. I'd encourage you to check out our website at mulberrytalent.com to see our upcoming job opportunities and check out our upcoming career webinars. Jumping into introductions, we are joined today by Lauren Francis and Kelley. Lauren is our fabulous founder and president. She started Mulberry back in June of 2017 and comes with over 25 years of talent acquisition experience. We're also joined by Kelley. She is a seasoned people strategist, leader development enthusiast, and ardent believer that people are happiest when they are evolving. Based on her experiences as a New York City trained psychotherapist, a sales professional, an executive coach, and an on-air television contributor, she wrote a career management book, Career Courage, in March 2016. Katie currently serves as a Senior Vice President of Talent Development Solutions for the U.S. Western region at Lee Hecht Harrison, a global talent management firm. So we'd like today to be super interactive, so do not shy away from using the Q&A function on Zoom, and we'll try to get to every question that comes in. We also wanted to share that we are doing a giveaway of 3 of Katie's books, Career Courage, so we will announce those winners after the webinar in our email that goes out to everyone. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it off to Katie and Lauren.
Welcome, everyone. And Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. Your book is an inspiration, and we live it every day with our candidates. So it's just great to have you. And Katie has, we moved to Portland in 2008, and our paths have crossed, but we never connected. And so we know so many people in common, and we were finally able to meet through video last year.
That's right. That's right.
And so here we are. So thanks again for joining us. We're so happy to have you today.
My pleasure. Likewise. Thrilled to be here. Okay, Lauren, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, well, I will get started. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And for those who are listening to a recording, thanks for doing that too. As Lauren and Kelley shared, we dreamt up this event about a year ago and had to postpone it. Like so many things have gotten postponed in the last year and a half. And then every fall, it seems like a perfect time to revisit the topic of career courage. I know many of my peers are, and I'm thinking some of you who are listening today maybe also looking for that career courage. So we wanted to narrow the topic down today to 3 of the areas that we find are the most critical to really getting people moving. So Amy, if you could go to the next slide. So this book is a great testament to all of the mentors and peers and friends of mine who helped really guide me to one of my pivots. And so it's based on 80 interviews with men and women all over the world in all different types of industries. And it was a time where I just relocated from New York City to Portland, Oregon, was just starting my family with my new husband at the time, and was also just starting a business, doing something new for the first time. So not necessarily, secrets of success when trying to do so much at once. But during that time, I felt like my well of wisdom was really dry. So I was really looking for some mindsets and some, really rich guidance for how to navigate all those massive life shifts at once. And so the first topic is really motivation. And we've seen a lot about that, just in the research of late. A great article by Adam Grant about that feeling of kind of languishing, Lauren, and maybe you're hearing a little bit from your clients and even employers about this feeling of we've all been stuck at home for coming up on, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And so how can people really reinvigorate themselves? And if they're not feeling like they're loving where they've been, where they are today, what does that look like to get moving? So I put together, Amy, if you want to go to the next slide, a simple model for all of you to think about. And I call it your motivational game plan. As we put in one of the promos for this event, sometimes people get the sense that they just want to run away from the seat that they're sitting in, and they just feel like they're focused on identifying all that they're not enjoying in their current job. And obviously the best way to go about initiating change is really having something that you're genuinely psyched about running towards. So that's the purpose of this particular model, is getting you into that state of mind. So we start off with the first topic of choice, as kind of a way to really intentionally appreciate, if you do have choice in your life, that is a gift in and of itself. Not everybody has choice all the time, or the privilege or opportunity to really initiate change. So if this is truly a beginning step for you today, or step for you this season, just really spend some time around the topic of I have choice. So Amy, if you could just click one more time. So what I mean by choice is really taking the stock of what opportunities you do have in front of you, and really cherishing that you do have freedom, if that's what you have. Really evaluating what resources you have, and the topic of drive. That's something that we know there's a lot of discussion about mental health and burnout right now. So really taking stock and not rushing this. And if just the concept of drive, meaning what energy and resources and emphasis can I invest in this journey of exploring my next career move outside of everything else I have to take care of each day. So I'm just going to pause there and see, Lauren, if you have any reflections on this topic, or if anyone wants to comment or have any questions about this first step.
Yeah, no, I think it's really an important step to take stock in what you have and what's available to you.
Yeah.
And I know that you've spoken about this before in many of your in your book and in other ways. The idea of the community, the people, the trusted advisors, the people in your life. I always tell people you can't do this alone. It's not a private journey. It is
exactly.
You want to find, gather people around you and help to think through and talk through what this change would look like. Yes,
such a good point. And the beauty of this moment is the majority of us have gone through many of the main experiences together. So yes, we're all on different boats in the same ocean. But certainly it is a really great idea to always ask, trusted people in your life what they're observing about you when they see you most come to life, most excited, most energized, versus, the opposite. Right. So if we go to the second area of this model, it's about inspiration. So a lot of us can get kind of caught up in the weeds and stuck in just the drudgery of like, oh gosh, if not this job or this industry, then what would the job be? What would that look like? So I really want you to just, put aside the role or the organization and just take this time to really energize and draw up, what the inspiration is that you're looking for. Because we know that so many people have taken this year and a half and really reflected on what their core priorities are. For some people, it's, really taking stock and realizing, they want to completely pivot, whether it's out of industry, whether it's relocation, whether it's like complete lifestyle change. Make sure you're understanding your core values today, and start to align your network. So what that means is like, make sure you're, listening to podcasts, consuming books, etc., that are really aligning and bringing to life areas that are of core interest to you today, and recognizing, what has been of interest to you in the past versus what's of interest to you now, and really surrounding yourself so that you're growing as a person whether it's spiritually, whether it's mentally, but you're really allowing yourself to move into new space, and kind of break through maybe some of the cobwebs or calcification that happens when we do something for so long. We can't even imagine doing something different, but we know we're really longing for that difference in our life. So
what I was going to add too is I think people are feeling really empowered now, where they have not in the past.
yeah,
I've also seen a distinct shift to I can't to what if, and
yes,
what does that look like? And I think there's another part to this is where a lot of people, they would, in the past, it would be like, okay, I'm a manager of whatever, and I want to open a restaurant. I want to, do something totally different, which is
yeah,
great. Except people are what I'm seeing is people are being really thoughtful about what that's going to look like now. And they're taking the time and the space to put a plan together. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this dramatic shift.
yeah,
It can, and also
exactly.
you can take baby steps to get there. I think
Yes, I love that. I love that.
yeah, the great resignation is like, okay, and quitting your job is a big deal. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are saying, I quit, bye, and everybody feels like caught up in that sometimes. But I think that what I'm seeing is a lot of people taking a pause,
That,
which I am
definitely.
loving, and the thoughtful decisions that people are making right now and saying no, and these are the reasons why. And so
Mhm.
they're, and it's just so great to see people empowered and in charge of themselves and their careers.
I love that. That gives me so much hope. I totally agree. And that dovetails nicely into the third area, Lauren. So storytelling is, a huge area where we can begin to reset who we are, what people know us to be and who we want to become. So my little note here is working to understand the continuous learning thread that weaves throughout your journey, practicing telling your story with different audiences. This is a story that's going to change your life architecture. So what I mean by that is really reflecting on what the one takeaway was, from a certain career choice that you made. I began as a psychotherapist. I knew my why was to alleviate pain and inspire action. And that continues to be my why today, even though I've moved through so many different industries. What I loved about being a therapist was I could help them, alleviate that pain, that internal, intrinsic pain, for some mentally, psychologically, but I wasn't able to inspire to action. So that's when I knew it was time for me to break away from being a psychotherapist. And I went into sales leadership. I was able to inspire action. I was still using my clinical skills in developing my relationships with my customers, and was able to help them, alleviate their pain in a business sense and help them inspire action by moving forward with what they wanted to do within their businesses. So, I could go on, but that's just a little snippet of, understanding what it is that really brings us the greatest joy in our work and how we're able to make good on that promise to ourselves and to others, in the roles that we choose to, lean into. So, lots to say there, but just really thinking about it more as a tapestry, our career journey, and what is prompting us when we feel like, what, I've kind of gotten what I needed here, or I've done my time here and I'm ready to, go a different direction, which we'll get to at the end of today. But just really starting to bring some imagery and some stories, because that's what's going to really captivate people to say, tell me more, let's talk. And that's what really ushers you in and helps make you stand apart in an interview process, or even just exploratory conversations about, I'm exploring my next. Here's what my journey has been.
And it feels more like a conversation.
Yes.
Than an interview.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
I think, yeah, we're actually shifting some of our language to say a discovery call.
Oh, I love that. I love
because
that.
I just think it really is. And I think people are showing up with more confidence.
Yeah.
And now, and they're embracing how they feel, and being able to express it in a professional, positive way, and
Yes.
feeling empowered to be able to do that.
Yes.
which is so nice to see that shift.
Yeah. And there's such an appreciation for, the unique hybrid that we all bring to different roles. And gone are the days of linear careers. Of course, we all, hold up to at least 10 jobs within our professional life. And I'm sure that's counting, clicking on even more so as we proceed into the future. But we find that people are the most innovative and are the most contributory to their organizations when they have the richest background. So that could be education, it could be life experiences, lived experiences, it could be, verticals or sectors that you've navigated. But you're able to bring so much more to the table. So perfect timing. We're going to move on to the second area that we wanted to make sure we covered today, which is around risk. So when I originally wrote the book, there was a lot of interest around bringing that entrepreneurial mindset and point of view into organizations. Oftentimes just that word risk can make people uneasy and it sounds risky. Why would I want to do that? But it's a critical part of really moving your life forward, is stepping outside of what you typically know of yourself and what others know about you. So if we go on to the next slide, Amy, just some things to consider. The book all has these core considerations in each chapter to really reflect on what might be, keeping you stuck in this place. And I find often if people have a relationship with risk, typically from, their family of origin, whether it be negative or positive, that tends to dictate, what kind of aptitude and orientation they have to taking risks themselves as an adult. So really thinking about what your relationship has been and what you've observed about people in taking risks can help unlock for you, either recognizing and letting go of that baggage of the past and or rebirthing and kind of reorienting yourself to what could be. And of course, making it, something that's doable for you. But the whole gist of all of this is really getting movement and moving into spaces where you haven't been going for a while. So if we go to the next slide, my friend Claire out in Philadelphia shared this great story where as she raised in the ranks, she started to find that she would need to find out meetings that were important for her to learn or contribute, whether it was listening, prepping, but just being really proactive. Of course, we're not always going to get a yes, but all we can do is ask. So we created a simple risk by invitation game. So this is something concrete for the listeners today to reflect on how to bring action to this area in their life. Where can you learn something that's going to contribute to your career evolution? Where can you share something that will benefit other people's careers? So really contributing, as Lauren said, finding that space where you are in community and where you are giving to others and not just taking. And then the third one is, where can you hear your voice heard? So the voice is really important, and having a point of view and feeling comfortable sharing your contribution, in conversations at your organizations, within your community, et cetera, is a critical part of getting this movement going with your career courage. So this is just a good snapshot of a place for some people to start thinking about, how to make some shifts. Lauren, I'm curious from you, just in this past year and a half, how have you adapted, even in growing your business or with your peers? What are some ways that you all have been able to stay in a growth mindset, while we're all in lockdown?
Yeah, well, it actually was starting the webinar series, really. And
Nice.
that was a way for us to give back to the community and to
Yes.
our to the people that we can work with. And it's made a huge difference for so many. And for us too, is that when we talk to candidates, we're not just talking about a role, we're talking about them. It's really the whole person. So it's always been our goal to try to help people to understand more about them and to help them make the best decisions moving forward.
Yeah.
One of the things you were talking about earlier was the like risk, we talk
Yes.
about risk. And I think risk it's a scary word. And a lot of people make decisions based on fear. And that is one of the things that we try not to do, but fear is present, and we often make these decisions, and they're not always the best decisions when we make them out of fear. But risk doesn't have to be scary, and it also doesn't have to be huge. Risk could be applying for a position that you don't meet all the qualifications.
Exactly.
And so many times people limit themselves by no, they're not going to look at me because, and a lot of reasoning. And so sometimes it can be very, very small. I think another one of the videos I was watching of yours, people being able to ask for opportunities within their own company. I mean, oftentimes we think we have to go somewhere else, and there are reasons for that. And that certainly is fine and true for so many, but there's companies are really creating a career pathing. They're creating stretch roles for people. And there's so much out there, depending on the organization that you're with. And so being able to have those conversations with people in your company and start to have your voice. Like
Definitely. And we know at Deco Group, our parent company has just done a great research body of work out of 15,000 recipients all over the world. We found that there is a disconnect, as far as the satisfaction between non-managers and leaders right now at organizations. And the non-managers are really feeling a disingenuity in the career pathing sometimes with their employers. Right. So the best way to start that, because it's perception sometimes and sometimes it's real, but the best way to kind of nip at that is to activate it yourself. So, an organization will only look fondly upon employees who are taking it upon themselves to say, how can I move my career forward? Even if I'm not seeing anything from where I sit here. And of course, remote work has really exacerbated the feeling that sometimes there's not that transparency of where the career pathing is. But the first step is, taking this risk by invitation game and starting to take, onus as to what can I do? And then you have so much more of an opportunity with your manager and your stakeholders inside your organization beyond to them to contribute. Here's some other things to think about. And that's where it gets going, but it always has to start with us. So I see just our timing. I'm wondering if we should just pop to the next one. Okay. But Lauren, thank you so much for your contributions. I love that. And I love this series. I think it's fantastic. So this last one is pivots, and we wanted to make sure we got to this topic because it's so tantamount to this moment in time. As Lauren said at the beginning, so many of you, many of us too, are saying, okay, if not this, then what? And so a dear friend, Bruce Hazen, who's here in the Portland, Oregon area, wrote a great book. I cite part of it, you can see on page 201. But we've kind of taken his model and gone further with it because, again, people get so bogged down with the roles and the industries, and it just becomes overwhelming. So for our listeners today, thinking about, do I want to broaden the scope of work I do and become more of a generalist, and the specialist I am today is becoming more, generally capable and confident, going to help me reach my career goals. Secondly, do I want to ascend in my organization or my profession and prioritize the pursuit of leadership? So it doesn't necessarily have to be going the manager route in your organization. It can also be working on your professional groups outside of your organization, taking on a leadership role there as a beginning to see, do I like being in charge of people? Do I like that responsibility and the call to leadership as an experiment? Number three, contrast to number one, do I want to specialize? So I really want to go deeper in my work and shed some of my core responsibilities. These are real points of clarity for people to decide and help them use this navigational lens. And then the fourth one, do you want an all-out change of scenery? Are you really ready to do that swing? As Lauren said, many are. Breaking into entrepreneurial or nonprofit, or for those who've already been in those sectors, going into the private sector. So, again, for many in my network and just colleagues and friends, 1, 2, or 3 of these areas, whether it's that motivational game plan for people who are really feeling that's stuck and kind of inertia, and just, focus on that motivational game plan to really get energized and reset around, what you need fundamentally as a human today to move your life forward, and then tackle the job stuff. Or for those who are already like in, the game set of like, okay, I'm ready to make a career change. Like, this is the time, jumping into this question to get clarity on which direction do I want to go, and then what steps do I need to take. And I'll just close with this final quote from a dear friend on the last slide. And then Carmen Boloke, it oftentimes is about being unconventional, and really going for a deeper calling is much more of an inside out job. It's not necessarily our resume or our LinkedIn profile. It's about really going deep and allowing ourselves to shed, images or ideas about who we are and who we are not, to really go into more of an exploration of richer work, and a richer experience of life. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I'm so happy to be here and happy to answer any questions or anything that came up for you, Kelsey or Amy, in this conversation today.
Yeah, so we did have one question come in from Jill, going back to the Great Resignation.
Yes.
Do you think the Great Resignation is partially a result of people considering their choices, realizing what inspires them, and wanting to tell a new and better career story?
Definitely, Jill. We know that there was a lot of people kind of hiding out in their jobs. I mean, there's a normal attrition of people moving in and out of jobs, and that was stunted because of the pandemic. People didn't want to make changes. It didn't feel like it wasn't certainly a great job market, a year ago. So people have been staying in their jobs. And as Lauren said, so many of us have had this downtime and taken, the chance to realize, who do I want to be, and what would that look like professionally? So it's a very exciting time. The variant has definitely dampened a bit of the speed. I think that some of us thought we were going into the fall for lots of job shifts and job change. It stopped it a bit, but now, as Lauren and I were talking about, we're seeing a lot of movement, and a real opportunity for employees to leverage, what it is they want to do and how they want to do it.
It's such an exciting time. It really is.
Yes. We do have one more question, if we can allow time. Liz was wondering, do you have any tips or suggestions on how to figure out your next career if what you want is to move into a new field?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, that's where informational interviews, I don't know what the verbiage these days, but essentially definitely find out how people are spending their days. Don't just go on, articles or hearsay. Seek out people who are in that industry and just ask for 15 minutes of their time to really understand what their work looks like, what the future of work looks like there, and whether that aligns to, what you love to do and how you want to get invested professionally, because so much is changing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's a community. It's
yes.
Talking with people, and also it's looking at your transferable skills and helping to develop that maybe with someone, and maybe some of the transferable skills that you have you're not aware of, and it helps to have someone, a coach or a guide or a colleague to help bring that out.
Absolutely. And Lauren and I, we know tons of coaches all over, Pacific Northwest and the US and the world. So if anyone needs a career coach, let us know. We're happy to make referrals.
For sure.
Hey, well, thank you, Katie and Lauren. I wanted to share, we do have another upcoming career conversation on October 7th with the Mulberry team. It'll be a LinkedIn 101 conversation. And then on October 12th, we have a leadership conversation. We're bringing Terry Smith back to talk about the Great Resignation. So that should be a great discussion. And then if you'd like to stay in touch with us, feel free to connect with Lauren, myself, and Katie on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. And then we just want to thank you all for choosing to fly with Mulberry. We know that you have many different options when it comes to webinars, and we're so happy that you chose ours. And thank you so much, Katie and Lauren. We were so
Thanks,
happy.
ladies. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. And don't forget, we're going to give away 3 of Katie's amazing copies of her book, Career Courage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good luck, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Thanks.